Here's the deal. My boyfriend and I are going to a wedding in about 2 weeks. It is one of his really good friends' wedding, and I just want to look hot at the wedding. I have my dress picked out. It's kind of like this long midi size tight black dress with a leg slit from Good American. I did rent it from Nuuly. I'll post a video up here, but it's like a really pretty just like black dress, right? So for the wedding, I want to just do like a really pretty glam makeup look, and I found this palette. It's by Morphe, and I want to try it out today and kind of do like, I don't know, a test run of my wedding guest makeup look. I want this look to be full coverage, glam. I want it to last all night, and I gotta show you this palette. I first saw this palette on TikTok, and I was like, this is freaking beautiful. And I try not to buy things on TikTok Shop. Like, I'd rather just purchase it from Ulta. So I went to Ulta's website, and I found the palette, and it is the Morphe Going Platinum palette. It has 9 shades in it. Look at this palette. When I saw this, I was like, this is absolute perfection. I love that it's a neutral palette. It looks like it leans slightly cool toned with these kind of more pinky shades here. These 2 brown shades are cool toned. You have this really cool silver shade right here. Like, I can do a complete full glam look with this palette, so I really want to try this out today. And I think they did have like 2 other color stories kind of like this. I want to say one was maybe more like rosy, one is maybe more warm, but this is definitely the more cool toned one. And I'm a little bit nervous but excited to try this. It has been so long since I've used a Morphe palette, but honestly in the past I really did love Morphe's formulas, so I have high expectations for this. And then for my brushes today, I will be using my Sigma Favorites eye brush set. It is finally back in stock. My brush set has 5 of my go-to eye brushes, and they're mostly those like small blending brushes that you see me use in all my videos, specifically the E42, the E33, and the E27. And then there's also a packing brush, and then this brush that I kind of use for crease work and packing on color as well. So it's finally back in stock, and Sigma's also running a little promotion with it as well. So from May 13th through the 19th, if you purchase my brush set, you'll get a free full-size switch. I absolutely love this. You guys see me use this all the time in my videos. So what you do with this, if you're like doing your eyeshadow, you don't have a lot of brushes, but you need to dip into a new color, here's like a dirty brush, right? Do you see there's like pink coming off of it? Take your dirty brush, and you just kind of blend it on the mat like this, and this gets all of the extra pigment off of the brush. It's still going to be a little stained. Okay, there was the mark, but now if I go to run the brush on my hand, no pigment is coming off of it. And one more thing, during this little promo of my brush set from the 13th through the 19th, my eyeshadow palette will only be $40. So if you've been wanting to try my palette, or you've been waiting for my brush set to be back in stock, now is the time to get it. As always, I'll leave the links down below for you, and my code ANGELABRIGHT will save you money on Sigma's website, and it will stack on top of this deal with my brush set and the palette. Okay, just had to get those things out of the way. Let's zoom in and start with the eyes and do a beautiful look with this palette. As always, I'm going to go in with an eyeshadow primer. I'm using the Rare Beauty one. And then I'm blending that out with the Sigma Angled Concealer brush. And then I'm taking a translucent powder on that E28 brush from my brush set, and I'm going to tap that in my crease to set down the primer. Going into that Morphe palette, I'm going to take Invitation Only on that E28. All right, so it looks like a soft pink color, and I'm going to start by building that up in my entire crease. What I like about this brush is that it's kind of in between like a packing brush and a fluffy blending brush. You can see I'm starting with the patting motion to really build up the shade in my crease. And this shade is pretty soft, but I like the little bit of pink that it has in it. And then with the lighter pressure, I can kind of blend out the edges of that shade with this same brush. All right, so I kind of just have like a very soft wash of that throughout my crease. Again, it's a very, very light shade. You can kind of see the difference here. So this is just with the eye primer, and that's with that shade on top. Now on the same brush, I'm going to pick up Toparazzi. What a shade name. And I'm going to start that in my outer crease and start to deepen up this look. I really can't remember when was the last time that I used a Morphe palette. If you've been here for a while, you would know that I absolutely loved the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. That palette actually kind of helped like grow my channel because I think I did 30 plus tutorials with that palette because I was in love with it. Like that was my favorite palette for years and years. And then the James Charles one came out and I used that one for a bit too. But like before then, you know, like the 35 was really popular, but can't think of any other Morphe palettes that I really used that much. All right, I'm really liking this little bit of taupiness and I'm kind of keeping this up in my crease. I haven't really brought it onto my outer lid yet, but I like how that's kind of like lifting up this outer part of my eye. And then I'm just gonna take whatever's left on my brush and bring that into my inner crease. But I still want my outer crease to be the deepest. Now for a shimmer, I know I'm not gonna use this silver because that's just like not really what I'm going for, but I wanna swatch out these two shades. So this one is Gems with Benefits, and this one is Moneymaker. So this one seems more like a toppery shade, but look at that sparkle. I might pair those two together. Really pretty. But I did also buy the NYX glitter primer for like the first time in my life because I see so many people do this, especially like Jen Phelps. I think she also did a video with this palette, by the way. What I see people do is they take a light layer of that glitter primer and they place it where they're gonna put that shimmer, so it just makes it like even more intense. And I don't think I've ever tried that as someone that like does eyeshadow tutorials all the time, and I want to try it. And like I said, this is the test run for this makeup look, so I just gotta try it, right? Okay, so I'm taking a tiny bit of that on my finger and I'm gonna place this on my entire eyelid because that's where I'm gonna put my sparkly shades. Oh, this does feel a little tacky. Oh, did I do too much? I don't know. I'm gonna take a clean finger, kind of pat that out a little bit more. Interesting, yeah, this is definitely tacky. Okay, okay. And I'm gonna use my finger with this Gems with Benefits, and I'm gonna place that on my entire eyelid. Oh, okay. I do feel like it's kind of doing something. I mean, again, this is my first time using this palette, but like that is sticking to my lid really, really nicely. Again, I'm going on the entire eyelid. So all the way from out here, all the way into the inner lid. And then going back to my E28, I'm just gonna very softly blend in my crease right around that shimmer, just to soften any harsh edges. Now I'm gonna try this Moneymaker shade. So this shade definitely has a little bit of depth to it, so I think I wanna focus it more on the outer part of my lid, not the entire eyelid. So just going right on top of that first shimmer. The sparkles on this shade, I love it. And I love these kind of like almost translucent looking, just sparkly shades. That is so gorgeous. And then again, taking my brush and just kind of softening these edges. I will clean up this edge right here with concealer, so I'm not too concerned about that. I do think I want to deepen up this outer crease area just a little bit more. So I'm going to switch to my Sigma E27 and I'm going to pick up just a little bit of crowd control. Really just a small amount like that. And I want to keep that in this upper crease area. Okay, and now I'm gonna relax my eye. See how that just like covered up all of that? I'm gonna relax my eye and kind of bring up that shade a little bit higher. Now I'm gonna go back to that Tauperazzi shade and just kind of add that out here to the outer crease. Because again, I want you to see that shadow when my eye is relaxed. There we go. So when I'm like looking at you, you can definitely see that outer crease. I went ahead and did my other eye, and now let's move on to foundation. Like I said, we want long lasting full coverage. So of course I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I don't use this primer. Oh, I forgot I have a pimple patch on. Can you even see that pimple patch? Gotta take it off in a second. As I was saying, I don't use this primer often. I really just use it more for special occasions or if I, again, just need my makeup to last all day. There we go. And then my go-to foundation for a full coverage look is the Hourglass Ambient Soft Glow Foundation. And I'm using the shade 6.5. That sounds dark. Normally I'm not like a 6, but okay. I'm just gonna start with one pump of this. I'm gonna dot that on first and then blend it out. Because I feel like sometimes I can go in a little bit too heavy-handed. The shade might be a little dark for me. My self-tan is kind of wearing off, but that's okay. This foundation is more of a medium coverage, but I definitely think you can build it up to full coverage. And it is super long lasting, and it has more of a natural finish, which I prefer. I don't want anything too glowy or too matte. It's kind of like right in the middle. I still even have a little bit left over, so I'm just going to kind of add that where I think I need it. I'm really excited to go to this wedding because honestly, I don't really get to go to a lot of weddings. Honestly, I don't really have a lot of friends. And then the last couple weddings I've been to, I have been a part of them. I've been like a bridesmaid or like maid of honor. So I'm excited to just be like a guest at this wedding and have a good time and party hard, you know? Taking whatever's left over down my neck since it is a little dark. And it'll just be a fun weekend because my boyfriend and I got a hotel because we are going to the rehearsal dinner as well. So we got 2 nights in Portland. It'll be a fun time. And then I'm just gonna use my NARS Soft Matte Concealer on any blemishes that are still peeking through. And then I'm gonna spray my face with my Charlotte Tilbury before I blend in that concealer. The setting spray just helps everything kind of sink into my skin and makes it easier to blend out the concealer. Oh, I was so annoyed. So like I said, I got this Morphe palette from Ulta, so I did like a little Ulta order. I even used my points and I only spent like $50 on a bunch of stuff. And I got one of those new NYX, the Buttermelt bronzers that I've been hearing such good things about because they have like kind of a rosy tone to them, and it came completely shattered. And I was like, ugh. So I think actually after I film this, I'm gonna head to Ulta and return it and hope that they have it in store. I don't know if they will or not, but then they have like the new Buttermelt blushes too. I just really wanna try those. Now I'm gonna go in with my Sigma little under eye brightener. And again, I'm just using that same Sigma angled concealer brush. I've really been loving this new brush. I really have not put it down for these steps ever since I got it. Now for under eye concealer, where I'm also going to clean up that edge of the eyeshadow, going in with my Natasha Denona concealer, and I'm using the shade N3. I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of my R2 to kind of brighten a little bit more since, like I said, my foundation is just a little bit too dark. And just blending that in, same brush. There we go, that brightening definitely helps. When I'm doing this edge of my eyeshadow, I'm kind of looking into my mirror and I'm just following the angle of my lower lash line outwards. And it kind of helps to be like further away from the mirror for this step. Like if you're super close up, it's kind of hard to see the angles. Like I want to see how this eyeshadow kind of lifts up my eyes. There we go. And this eye is always so much easier for me than this eye, so wish me luck. Okay, that actually went pretty well. Now for setting my under eyes, I'm gonna use the Givenchy Prism Libre powder. I picked this one because it's a little bit more brightening than my other ones that I have. I did just get these new little puffs from One Size, and they have this little really small size right there that I want to try. One Size just came out with new shades of their setting powder. There's one in this peach shade that I want to try, but not today. Probably for another video. Ooh, yeah, this size is small. Look at that. This is the puff that I normally use, so I mean, same kind of shape, but it's just nice and small. I have some powder in the cap. Gonna press into that, smooth off the excess, make sure there's no creases under my eye, and set. I don't know how I feel about the shape of the sponge. It feels a little too small, like I can't like grip onto it. All right, beautifully set under eye. Let's do the other one. I think I'm gonna switch back to my normal puff because when I hold this, I like to like wrap my finger around the puff. Does that make sense? So I can like get a lot of pressure when I'm setting my eye. Again, tap out the creases. And then taking more powder, kind of along my nose, my little smile lines, my chin, and then I'll also do the center of my forehead. Now I did also get the Natasha Denona powder foundation, and you can use this as a powder foundation or as kind of like a setting powder, and I want to try that today. I'm going to try the shade N3. It might look a little light, but I kind of want it to be lighter since my face does feel a bit dark. I'm just going to take a little bit on my fluffy powder brush and just kind of set the rest of my face. And again, I'm setting all of this because I want my makeup to last. And this will give even more coverage too if you really need it. This is only my second time using this product. I do really want to try it as a powder foundation. I'll probably do that in some kind of short form video here pretty soon. Switching to a smaller brush to get this little spot right above my brow. Okay, now that my base is done, I want to jump back to the eyes before I do like blush and bronzer and stuff. First thing I'm going to do is take the E33 from my brush set. This is clean, it has no product on it. And I'm just going to softly press along this line right here. I still want the definition of this line, but it just doesn't need to be so harsh. Now on my E27, I'm going to take a mixture of the two brown shades I was using. And I have that on the tip of my brush, and I'm going to blend that along my entire lower lash line. Alright, so it's kind of nice and smoky down there. Now I'm going to grab a small smudge brush. Now this brush is not in my brush set, but again, you can use the code ANGELABRIGHT to save if you want to pick this one up. And I'm going to take just a little bit of the black, and I'm going to stamp that along the top part of my upper lash line. And then whatever's left over on the brush on the outer part of my lower lash line. Apparently there was a lot left over on the brush, that's okay. That is a pigmented black because I really only picked up a little bit. What I like to check for is I kind of like do a little smile, and I want these blacks to kind of touch from the top lash line to the lower lash line right out here in this very outer corner. So a little smile, a little squint, kind of connecting right out there. And then I'm just going back to my E27 and just softening out this lower lash line a little bit more. I'm just kind of blending right on top of the black. Now I'm going to take my E42 from my brush set with Champagne Excess, and I'm popping that in my inner corner. Ooh, yeah, this is a perfect highlighter shade. Love this. And then just a little bit of that shade under my brow as well. I went ahead and added my mascara and lashes, and you guys know me, of course I added a half lash. And for the half lash, I'm wearing the Bright Lashes Whisper. I was gonna do something a little more glam like Flutter, but after I put on my mascara, my natural lashes are just feeling extra short and kind of stubby today. That just kind of happens with like the hair growth cycle of your lashes sometimes. That's why I went with Whisper for my half lash, because it is a shorter half lash, so it's kind of gonna match the length of my natural lashes better. And here's the final close-up of this eyeshadow look. All right, here are what both eyes look like all done. I love this eye look. I gotta say, that black in that palette is so pigmented. I kept having to tap off my brush on my hand as I was doing this eye because like I was just getting so much pigment. So be careful with that black. Now for blush, I'm gonna use my Too Faced Cloud Crush blush in Velvet Crush. I like to use this blush when I have more of a cool tone look on, just because the shade is pretty neutral and it does lean, I don't know, a little bit mauve-y, I guess, but it's definitely not warm toned, and I don't want something too warm with these more cool toned eyes. As much as I love my Patrick Ta Not Too Much, I just think it would be too much for this look. As I was finishing on my eyes, I'm thinking you could probably get a pretty similar look with like the ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette, but I also just really like having all of those 9 shades in one little 9-pan palette. Like that's just nice for travel, especially for this wedding we're going to, since we will be staying at a hotel. Like I'm not gonna have my entire makeup collection with me. Now I'm gonna add my Bare Minerals highlighting blush in Rose Glow on the very top point of my cheek. This is gonna add a little bit of glow, but also kind of highlight as well. And I'm getting really close to my shadow right under here. I gotta say, I think I prefer this product over the Rare Beauty Nude Powder blushes. And this one doesn't accentuate your texture as much as the Rare Beauty one does. I don't want to overdo my bronzer since my face is still just a little bit dark, but I'm gonna take my House Labs bronzer in light level 2. Just like a touch of this around the perimeter of my face. And I like to use the same brush that I used for my blush, so it kind of mixes the shades together. I will bring some of this down my neck though, because that needs some bronzer. Now I'm going to set again with my Charlotte Tilbury. I'm going to add a tiny bit of highlighter to my nose. My Cupid's bow. Oh, I'm using the Rare Beauty one, obviously. It's the only one I use. And then a tiny bit on top of that Bare Minerals. And then I like to dust just a little bit more powder where I think I need it, just to kind of lock everything down. And then for lips, I'm gonna keep it really simple as well because again, at a wedding, I'll be eating, I'll be drinking. So I'm gonna go with this Flower Beauty Gloss Crush Lip Serum in Honey Crush. I've really been liking this product. Okay, so I'm going straight in with this. And then I'm just going to add my lip liner around the edges just to define a little bit. I'm using the Make by Mario Smoky Pink. All right, and that is the final makeup look. I love how this turned out. I feel so pretty right now. I am very happy with the colors of this palette. Like I said, this is just like the perfect neutral, slightly cool tone palette that has everything I need. And when I say everything I need, I mean that it has a highlight shade, it has kind of 2 transition shades, a deepening up brown, a black to deepen up, and a couple different options for some shimmers on the lid. Gotta say, I'm a fan. I did not get to use this like kind of different going platinum shade, maybe in another look. I'll probably play with it at some point, but it does look kind of like a different type of formula. But I am so happy with this look. I know it'll last all night with dancing and partying and drinking. As always, I'm gonna link all the products I used today down below, and don't forget that my Sigma brush set is now back in stock. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.